So, the 100 days might not have gone to plan, but that doesn't mean our story comes to an end. And if you haven't seen any of this till now, playlist down below. But previously, with Rick's desperate struggles to clear out the town and finally find some of the much needed books, he pushes himself too far. And with a string of bad choices and unlucky moments, Rick's journey of 100 days comes to a tragic end. But Rick's loud shotgun blasts weren't only heard by the undead. On the outskirts of town, on the populated highways, a nomad survivor overhears Rick's final moments. And as it's late, he sleeps in a nearby car with the goal for tomorrow to investigate the noise. But waking up on day 61, the nomad survivor, Daryl Slickson, yeah, he's not based off anyone, jumps on his bike, makes his way to Rosewood, dodging a few hordes on the highway, and eventually arriving at Rosewood, and instantly crashing. That didn't happen. But it doesn't take long for Daryl to spot tons of dead Zeds and scorch marks across the whole town. And that's perfect, because Daryl was out on the road looking for an old friend. So he heads further into town, looking for the source of the gunshots, and finds a hell of a lot more Zeds. And after trying to fight a few, a pretty substantial horde is formed. And as Daryl's been on the road for a while, his skills aren't really up to scratch. So he gives him the slip and instantly runs into more. So he decides to back off for a minute, loot at a local house, as he hasn't got much supplies. But time to head out again and look around. And finally taking on a few Zeds, until he sees a bigger horde and decides to use a Molotov, like an old friend taught him. And when the Zeds are finally dealt with, he makes his way over to this huge burning building, which seems like a school. But on arrival, the hordes start converging, and after killing countless of them, we're getting worn out. So we back off and find refuge in a local house, which has hundreds of bodies out back. Whoever was here, they were busy. But after a quick wash, we get some sleep, waking up early on day 62, and decides to venture out, and with his bike across town, looking for another vehicle, and stumbling into a pretty big horde at the fire station. And he's fed up of running. But after the dust has settled, we see a car here, with loads of supplies in the trunk. So we hop in to quickly hotwire it, and find a map with a lot of annotations, talks to the school which we found in flames, and a lot of really cool events. Damn, they must be at least worth a sub. But most of all, a mark on the map for a base, in a prison nearby. So Daryl hotwires the car and sets off, pulling up out front and hopping through one of the front windows, and begins to explore and finally comes across a more secure area. And with a quick look around, no one's here, but Daryl's certain this base belonged to his friend, Rick Rhymes. With all the bodies around town, and with the map, it must be him. But Daryl settles in, taking stock of all the loot Rick's acquired, and even throws on some new gear, then decides to get to work. You can see Rick's been trying to work on some cars, but knows Rick didn't have a clue. So we head out to the front of the prison to start sorting through some of the cars, hotwiring them all, moving them inside, and taking this nice bike straight back to the garage. But now that's done, we head back in and start going through Rick's book collection, reading through everything we can until it gets late and we need to get some sleep. Well, we wake up on day 63 and continue on our reading until all the books are done. Then spend the rest of the day organising around the base, doing a little exercise, and getting an early night, waking up early on day 64. And with no sign of Rick returning, Daryl knows something's up. Rick's either dead or he's in trouble. So we head back into town on our new bike. And the hordes are everywhere. So we pull up near the police station to take some of them out. And after a lot of fighting, the area is looking a lot more empty. So we try and hotwire 2 cars outside the burnt down courthouse, getting one done, but attracting some more Zeds. So after a long and annoying fight, we can finally hotwire the second car, then decide to take a look near the gated community just to see how many Zeds are around. And there's a lot. So we dump the car, quickly beeping the horn, just to make sure the hordes crowd up together so we can deal with them later, and a swift getaway back to the police station, where we again start hotwiring the cars in the car park, start thinking up a plan to use a campfire to set all the Zeds ablaze. And after a day of hotwiring, we go to sleep in one of the cars in the car park, and waking up on day 65, and straight away try to put our campfire plan into action. And of course, when I'm trying to set up, Zeds won't leave me alone, so we end up running around, eventually having to fight the ones following. But we do find a better place to put the fire, and after taking out the local Zeds, we fuel the fire and go and grab our secret weapon, the trusty police cruiser, and park it next to the fire, light it up, and set off the siren, hopefully bringing all the Zeds over. And as we're escaping, yep, it's definitely working. Whoa, look at all of them. And when we finally get away, we still have to fight a couple hordes that are next to the police station, and finally can dry off and catch our breath in the car. But of course we have to go take a peek, see how the plan's doing. And yeah, this definitely worked, but we aren't done yet. Time to use a shotgun we just found and get the fire to spread a little. When it seems like we've well and truly kicked the hornet's nest, we bounce and hop into one of our hot-wired cars and escape back to the prison, where we settle down for the night. And wake up on day 66. We need to get back to work, so we grab a shotgun and a hell of a lot of shells and head back to town. And it begins. And after a whole day of fighting in the rain, we try to set another fire and lure over the last of the Zeds. Their long trip through the woods, back to base. And we're completely soaked, so for some reason we strip off and go to bed just to wake up on day 67 with a stinking cold. But after taking every pill known to man and throwing on some clothes, somehow we're fine. So we head back out and straight back to waging war on Rosewood. Begin to move some of the vehicles to block some of the entrance to the gated community, so maybe we can finally have a little bit of security around here. And when the night falls, we jump into one of the local houses. Oh god, that scared me. And get some sleep, waking up on day 68. And the first thing is to finally loot some of these houses, which has tons of useful loot, including one of the books Rick was desperately looking for. But still, no generator book. And finally decide it's about time to finally block off the rest of the road by moving a couple of the bins between the cars. I'm sure that'll hold them. Then more Zeds have gathered at the other side, so back to the shotgun, and time to block off the other entrance too. But this time with a bunch of random furniture. Then as it's dark, we go back into other houses and do some carpentry leveling, before getting a good night's sleep, waking up on day 69. Then head out with the goal of trying to retrieve our bike from a week ago. And looting up some of the houses and the garages on the way. But it doesn't take long to start getting into some big fights as well. But in the intervals, we do find some useful loot, but eventually making it down to the school, finding a pretty sick ATV, maybe we'll take that later, but before we can search further, we start getting too much attention. We grab our bike and book it back to the gated community, where the noise of our bike brings in the horde. And with our last few shells, we take out as many as we can, then have to take out a few crawling under the cars. Yeah, this is a little bit of an oversight, but after killing as many as we can, I slip away into one of the houses and try and sleep, hope I'm not going to be welcomed by a horde on day 70. And no horde, but there's definitely plenty at the back entrance, so a little melee to clear them out, then decide it's time to head out and clear out some more of the area. But I might have paused my recording. I know, I was disappointed too. Oh, why? But we spent the day killing Zeds, and now we're leveling our carpentry skill again, destroying some of the garden fences. And just as we're about to call it a night, we take out a few intruders, and notice this. Where the hell have they all come from? But it's too late to deal with that, so we go to the other end and sleep in one of the houses, waking up on day 71, where we decide we're just going to ignore what we saw last night, and try and build another wall across one of the back roads behind the shops, with the idea of building up wall frames and blocking the other side with a car. God knows if this will work. And we see the chance to swap out our car for a better one, but as soon as we put the car against the wall, a huge horde appears. What on earth? Whilst running and trying to take them out, more and more come out of the woodwork, causing us to run, but we loop around to the police station again, where we clear out any hordes following, and begin to build a wall there too, connecting up the fire station and the police station. And with every wall we build, more Zeds come. So after a day full of building and clearing, we take a risky sleep in the back of a police cruiser. Waking up on day 72, not feeling too good. So decide to take one of the vans from the police car park and do a quick supply run back to base. Spend the rest of the day resting up and stocking up for tomorrow. Then get a good night's sleep, ready for day 73, where we take a new gun and a few Molotovs back to town. See if we can clear the area again. And when we've done all we can, we head back to the police station and try to finish off our long walk by cutting down some trees and building some more of the wall frames. Then try to get back to the gated community for a good night's sleep, but end up having to sleep in a van as there's way too many Zeds around. Wake up on day 74 to some worrying noises. And after a tense moment, we get away and try and put down the horde, but there's too many. So we drive across to the gated community, and there's tons there too. So in defeat, we try and go home, but after a few too many run over zombies, the van dies on me. I have to make the run home, leaving all the loot in the van. And when we're back at base, we start to notice a slow decline in the weapons that Daryl's been using. So we try and train him up with the trusty spear, gathering some of the wood around the prison and making a few spears. Then making our way out to the back fences and killing as many as we can before the spears break, which annoyingly isn't that many. And we call it a night, after a pretty frustrating day. But waking up on day 75, with motivation to go back to Rosewood and clear it out, we grab a sword and a couple axes, just to instantly get stuck by a horde at the entrance of the prison. And after dealing with them, even more Zeds by the car park. And at this point, I'm already sidetracked, so why not carry on? We decide to go and try and loot one of the watchtowers, just in case there's anything useful in there. And after a little battling, we get in and there's some ammo, so definitely worth a look. So we head back to base, killing a few strays as we go, and spend the remainder of the day thinking about what the hell we're going to do about the hordes gathering outside the fences. As sooner or later, they're just going to walk around and come straight through the entrance. But we get an early night and we sleep on it, waking up on day 76 to the horde situation getting worse. And after an airdrop, which will only bring more, but we roughly loot the airdrop, but end up dumping a lot of it due to the huge hordes outside the fences. At this point, you can really tell I'm starting to lose it. If this group gets in, we're screwed. But after a little think, we have a plan. We need a fire, of course. But the only bottles we have left are in our old truck in town. A quick trip and a car swap, and the hordes around the fences are getting crazy. We make our mollies and grab a police cruiser. Then go out to grab a little bit of wood so we can make a campfire. You know where this is going. Then drive the car behind the horde in the tree line. Set up the campfire, but before we have time to light it, the horde is on us. We have time to throw a couple mollies, then make a dash back to base and get some sleep, hoping the Molotovs do some work. I wake up on day 77, ready to try again. And of course, there's a horde just stood next to the car. So I throw my last Molotov to lure them away and get to the car. And I can't find the campfire and the car's all out of fuel. And the horde I just set ablaze is coming straight for me. But I think screw it. We've got to spread the fire somehow. So we run straight towards the fences, and just as I think it can't get any worse, an airdrop gets dropped right next to us, bringing in all the Zeds from the woods. Oh my god, this is mayhem. And somehow, after a very stressful run, we make it all the way around the prison, and back into the safety of the fences. And try and shout to get all the Zeds to bunch up against the fences, so they can all burn. Let's just hope the fences can't burn down. But after hours, we've set tons alight, but there's still hundreds out there. We have to get the tools we need, and finally secure this place once and for all. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed, subscribe for more, and leave a like to help with the algorithm. Let me know what you think in the comments.